Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is the producer of this show, Tod Pronto. He's been on here before. He's been on here as the producer. And he's been on here as a Nashville legend. But now he's on the show as a cartoonist. That might not surprise some of you, because he is kind of a funny fella. But yes, he is. He does make cartoons, and well, Tod, is this a new adventure for you, or is this just an extension of one you've already been working on?
Is both, I guess. So I didn't do it for years and years and years, but it's actually before I picked up a guitar and started writing and playing music. My ambition in life was to be a cartoonist, and I probably stopped around 16 years old and just started back up. January 1st was the official day, but in October I secretly, behind closed doors, started cartooning again.
So you've gone from tunes to cartoon, or cartoons to tunes to cartoons.
Yeah, from tunes to tunes to tunes.
Right.
So Danielle, my girlfriend, Danielle says that I should call it Pronto Tunes.
That's true.
And I said, but which version should I spell it? Tunes or Toons?
So tell me, I was thinking back years when I worked for the Chronicle, which now must be upwards of 20 years ago. Seems like there was a Pronto that used to submit cartoons to them. Was that you?
It was. Yeah. I forgot. Oh, my God. I forgot about that. I wonder if any of those still exist. That was Steve Blake, who also worked for the Chronicle at the time.
Right.
And I don't really know how it started, but he said, what if we do a political-ish cartoon that kind of had to do with the Northeast Kingdom once a week? He came up with the idea, and I drew it. So I remember one of the cartoons. Remember when we had the Republican six-pack?
Oh, yeah.
It was all of our legislators. That's what they... I don't know who coined that term.
I heard it was John... I heard it was John Hall.
Could be. I mean, we had him in a six-pack holder driving down to Montpelier. You know, it wasn't any particularly biting editorial cartooning. But yeah, that was me that drew that. We called it Polytunes.
I know.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. See, that's it pays to have somebody who writes history on the.
Yeah.
Because I
wonder why we got fired from doing that.
Oh, did you?
I don't remember. Actually, maybe Blake left. Did he leave the Chronicle and then they just?
Yeah, he. I don't know really what he ended up doing, but yeah, he did end up leaving. But I haven't seen him for years. Left before him. You know, another cartoonist that I dealt with for years, and he used to provide me cartoons. Used to make them to order, is Skip Sador.
Yeah, I never met him.
Yeah, Skip. It's funny, I never met him either, but I communicated with him all the time on the internet. He's an older fella. But
you never met him in person?
No, never met him in person. Came on my radio show via phone. I don't even know if he existed.
It was probably somebody completely different.
No, it was Skip, though. And he did a lot of what you did, except for his was hand. It was all just sketching, and he was I guess you'd say, kind of like a haberdasher in his real life. But he always, when he was a kid, he wanted to be a cartoonist. And his parents basically said, no, you're going to make money for a living.
Yeah.
So, but
they weren't wrong.
In his retirement, he became I used to call him a professional cartoonist. He says, no, Scott, I'm an amateur. Yeah. So how do you base your, I have one here. I see, yay, a brand new year. Now, tell me about this cartoon.
Well, that one was the first cartoon that I officially launched. So I started my website and my social media pages on January 1st. So
Right.
I actually created that last minute because I said, well, I suppose I need a New Year's comic.
Right.
So I just said, everybody was so excited about 2021 finally being over. And I'm like, it's going to be just like when 2020 was over. It's the same thing.
Right.
Just because the calendar flips over doesn't mean all the crap goes away.
Right.
So I don't know if that one's particularly funny, but it was the introduction to my cartoons. By the way, the name of the cartoons are Midlife Thesis.
I was going to ask you that. So, and how old are you?
Well, I'm 43.
So you're only planning to live to be 86 if this is midlife.
That's it. That was kind of the idea. So I don't know why I wanted to draw cartoons again, but
Right.
I think I needed something different than music.
Right.
Like, I love music. I love performing, but I think I got to the point where I wanted to do something different. So I started drawing again. I was like, well, most people when they hit their midlife crisis, they buy a sports car or they date somebody that's 20 years younger than them. And I said, well, I'll just draw cartoons. So I called it Midlife Thesis.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You said we all want to do something in midlife, and I think one of our guests in the coming weeks here is going to be Jen Barrett,
Yeah.
the state's attorney, and I've asked her on the air before whether it's too late for me to become, some kind of criminal because I haven't even had a speeding ticket.
No?
And she said it's never too late for me to change my ways.
It's never too late to turn your life around the wrong way.
Yeah. So do you look at, I think you might look at life then the same way as I do. You ever look at life, even things that you do, and just laugh?
Yeah. One of my big things in life, in music, in anything, is I believe that people take themselves too seriously.
Oh, yes.
And that's that's the point of this cartoon. This cartoon, it's not a political cartoon. It's not a character, it doesn't have reoccurring characters. It's not like Garfield or something. It's just observational humor from everyday things,
Right. Yeah, and what I tell people about my humor is I don't need to laugh at other people or poke fun at other people because I have somebody looking in the mirror who I have plenty of material. Because people don't need to poke fun at me because I poke fun at myself.
Right.
And believe me, I have plenty of material looking at me out of the mirror.
Well, if you can't laugh at yourself, then,
Yeah, but I don't know. Have you ever gone into a do you use any of your humor with cashiers and such? You ever say?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
do you ever have them who don't know you? They look at you say,
Yeah, and it was tougher when everybody was wearing masks because I couldn't see the smile.
Right.
So I'm really thinking, what is this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you deliver some dry wit, sarcastic thing, I guess you could tell if somebody's smiling through their eyes, but not as much.
Yeah.
So they kind of would look at you like, what?
Yeah.
A lot of times, though, I'm kind of a creature of habit. I pretty much go to the same 2-3 stores every week, so I pretty much know everybody.
Oh yeah. No, I'm kind of the same way. Now tell me a little bit about this cartoon.
This one, so I wasn't feeling well one day, and Danielle came in, and I wasn't sick. I think I was just run down. You do too much, you get tired. And she says, "Wow, your complexion is really off today. Are you doing okay?" And my mind just goes, "Hey, that's a funny cartoon." It all basically stems from something that happens in real life. So if you say something dumb enough on this show today, Scott, it might be a cartoon.
Where did you come with if? Isn't that pretty? Isn't that
when you say something?
You have recorded me dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
It's true.
And I dare say, I have yet to make it through a show that I did not say something incredibly stupid. And I'm sure the viewers
there
will
must be
agree.
one. You've done a few hundred shows at this point.
Yeah. Well, if you count the time, this is also being listened to on the radio. So.
Oh right. Nobody listening on the radio can see these cartoons.
Well, no, the technology isn't there yet to see things through through the radio.
They should invent something where people could talk and video would play at the same time.
Kind of like television.
Yeah, they should invent something like that.
Yeah.
They could start in black and white and then eventually move it to color.
Right, yeah. No, that's it. And but back to the humor, like, not going into details, as last year for me and for Penny was a tough year.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is some ways the only way we survived it was humor.
Yeah.
And some people looked at us, and they still look at us and say, are these people normal? Because the way we have always survived, especially during challenging times, is to laugh. Because if you didn't laugh, you're going to cry.
Yeah.
And so we managed to make it through the year with a good dose of humor. And I think, I do know there's some people who are just, we've left them shaking their heads because the humor we have found in such a dire situation was just it just left some people saying, how do they do this?
I think that's healthy, though. I think people need laughter. I don't think it's anything new. I think we've been doing it for years. Some of the most unhappy people I've ever met are people that don't find humor in anything.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Or don't find joy in anything that. And
what's unfortunate, too? Not always the case. Some of those people to the outside world look like they have everything, too. If you material goods.
Oh, sure.
And then some of the happiest people are people who they don't have much in things, but they have happiness.
Right. Yeah.
Because granted, I would prefer to have a wad of money in my pocket and be happy. Right. But since I can't have both, at least I try to stay happy.
Yeah. Well, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but this is a Mitch Hedberg joke. He was a comedian. He said money can't buy happiness, but it can buy a jet ski.
No, that's true.
Have you ever seen anybody not happy on a jet ski?
Yeah. And the other thing, for me, money can buy airplane tickets, and I don't even care where the airplane's going. Just go.
Just play airplane roulette.
Oh yeah, I would certainly do that if there was a game where you just. That
would be kind of fun.
Just spun a thing or didn't even know. Just tell me how to dress, and I'll go.
Right? Yeah. You certainly don't want to end up in Hawaii dressed for Colorado.
No, that's it. Okay, here's another one, a wintry one.
I think people can relate to this one. I live on a street, and I also have a sidewalk in front of my house, which means it's not like a main street, but it's a fairly busy street. And so the snowplow goes by 6-7 times a day, and the sidewalk plow goes by 12-13. And I can just never get my driveway clear. And so I think I drew this cartoon out of frustration. But how true is that? You get your driveway looking perfect, and then poof.
Yeah.
I didn't draw the sidewalk plow in this cartoon. I have a beef with the sidewalk plow.
Well, you're old enough to remember Louisa Essoff and her little store on
Absolutely.
At the the building's gone now, at the intersection of East Main and Union, East Main and Sias Avenue. And you say you had a beef with the sidewalk plow. It is known that well into her 80s, she has been known, she's now gone, she would go out and physically attack the sidewalk plow with her broom because she just because her steps to her store, and then she'd go out bang bang. And that's the same woman who made the national news when she was when they tried to rob her with a gun, and she just chased them out of the store. And so
that's amazing.
So Louisa can feel your pain in spirit.
Maybe that's a good cartoon idea.
She's.
The sidewalk plow in the town that I live in, I clean everything out the driveway, and then it comes by and it messes it up, and it blows snow into my walkway and stuff. Like, can't you angle it somewhere different? If it's a weekend and we're getting a lot of snow, My neighbor sometimes will text me because he'll see it coming, sidewalk plow's coming, and I'll go stand in the middle of my driveway so they can't blow the snow at me. I'll just stand there. It's Todd's. It's like Custer's last stand.
But on the flip side, I'm sure there must be some parallel down in Florida. They don't worry about snow plows. But I guess right now if you read in the news, following iguanas, they get shocked by the cold.
My father lives in Florida in the winter. They bought a house down there. He's retired now, and I text him and I said, "Hey, I see the temperatures are going to get so cold in Florida. They're warning people that iguanas are going to fall from the trees." And he's like, "Yeah, we bought helmets."
I bet he's a golfer, right?
Yeah.
How's Mar-a-Lago for him?
I don't know if he's been allowed to get in there, though. I'm sure he would jump at the opportunity.
I think he'd feel right at home.
I think he would. He's got a red hat and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to inherit that when he goes.
Probably.
Okay, here's a Christmas tree one, and I always feel a bit guilty at the end of the Christmas season, taking that beautiful tree. I take everything off of it, and then I chuck it right out the window. And today's actually the day I'm actually making a funeral pyre of some of the tree and some other scrap wood.
Yeah.
And I always feel kind of bad.
Lighting it on fire?
Yeah, lighting it on fire after it treated us so well.
It's beautiful, though, isn't it? It goes up in this blaze of glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a uniquely Vermont joke. Maybe not just Vermont, but
I'm going to tell you though, people complain about the price of Christmas trees around here.
Yeah.
I have one son who lives in New Mexico. They do have trees there in certain parts, but he lives in Albuquerque. You don't see many. You don't see many Christmas trees growing right there in the desert, and so Christmas trees cost a fortune.
I bet.
So maybe that's what we ought to do.
A friend of mine used to work for a Christmas tree farm, and their bread and butter was packing those trees up and going to stand on a street corner in New York City and selling them for hundreds of dollars. And you get the rich people in Manhattan that can you bring this tree and set it up for me in my apartment? They tip you a couple $100. You can make a good living hawking trees, I guess.
I don't know. I doubt you could do that on Main Street in Newport, hawk them for a couple, $200-300. I know
I doubt it.
I know our neighbor up on Pine Hill. He sets up Zists. He and his wife, they set up across from Cumberland Farms every year.
Oh, yeah.
He lives up there. I think they live right there during it. And
that's like the unofficial start of the holiday season right there. When they set up, game over.
So now, what about this one, Vermont, -20? Tell me about this.
Do you ever think in the days before, and this goes for people that live in Arizona too, the days before air conditioning, the days before insulation, before heat, when the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth and they decided not to go to Virginia where it was warmer, and they just stayed in Massachusetts and this is fine.
Yeah.
This weather's fine. Yeah. And then some of them moved to Vermont.
Yeah.
Who went through the first winter? Winters were colder back then too, right? Yeah. Who went through the first winter, 30 below zero, in a log cabin and said, "This is all right."
Yeah. Well, remember what I do
this is fine.
Remember what I do for a living. I write history, so I can tell you.
You probably know a lot more about this.
There were a lot of people who came up here in the summer. Actually, it happens still to a degree right now.
Sure.
People came up here, and back then they were looking at these huge trees, virgin forests, and there was plenty to eat off the land. It was untapped, and besides that, you got away from people.
Sure.
But there really was a lot of people. So they go into fall. Oh, look at these pretty leaves. And then all of a sudden, they're dumped on by feet and feet of snow. It's really, really cold. And a disproportionate number of people actually left. And they either left behind the hardy people or the fools. I don't know. My family's been here for generations, so that you could say it probably left behind the fools.
Half my family was Abenaki, so they were here anyway.
Right. Yeah.
They were probably looking at the people moving here going, oh, those stupid bastards. They don't know what they're getting into come November.
you ever met, it's funny, you meet people who just moved here in the summer, and they're all full of spring in their step, because they've been watching, they know a lot about Vermont. They've seen those calendars. Well, the calendar, come winter, is, and this is all, I say this with total respect, because most of my dear friends are people who've moved here, because most people who really know me don't want to be friends with me. No. But there is an illusion that when you look at these calendars about how tough it can be.
Oh, yeah.
And
or even the holidays stuff, like Christmas cards and stuff. Blankets of snow. New England is like the picturesque snow-covered blanket town.
Right.
And, man, when you live here, I like the winter. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I love it, but
what about tell me about how much you love it when the sidewalk plow.
Well, that's the thing. I don't like the sidewalk plow. And we just went through a snap where it didn't get really above 10 degrees for like 3 weeks. I don't love the heating fuel bill. But, I wonder how many people moved here during COVID and bought houses are going to be here 3 years from now. The first winter they went through, I've talked to a few people. Oh, it's great. Like, last year was a starter winter. Last year was not a tough winter. This year hasn't been crazy snow-wise. It's been cold. Right. Like, another 3 years, COVID in the rearview mirror. I got to go back to the city.
Well,
this is crap up here.
I've run to some people, like, I think of one person, Peggy Day Gibson, who was at the Old Stone House for many years. Yeah. She was from Bradenton, Florida, and she settled here.
She moved here from Florida.
Wow. And I believe Carl Taylor of Derby, he's a Floridian. And so there are people who make the migration here, and they stay here, and they absolutely love it. This year I have vowed, after this year, I will never chuck another piece of wood in a furnace in my house. I'm having my heating system redone this year. Yeah. And there's going to be no wood furnace.
You're going to do like a oil, huh?
Just oil and wood pellet and no wood furnace. I have chucked firewood for too long, so
You've been a woodchuck for too long,
well, that's never going to stop.
It's amazing.
But the good thing is now I have two out of three of my kids. They now live in at least fairly warm areas, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. So at least I can visit them. Whereas our daughter, who hates winter, and she decides to go live in a place that even has a longer winter, Marquette, Michigan, where her husband's from. And so while I'm mowing my lawn, they'll be still snow blowing. So here's another one.
Are you familiar with Snapchat?
Yeah, I am, but I don't really know how it works.
My girlfriend has it. You send pictures, and I send you a picture, you open it, disappears in 15 seconds. Right. So sometimes inappropriate things are sent as well.
Yeah, I was never into sending inappropriate things.
No.
You know why? I know I'd send it to the wrong person.
Right, and then there's a trail.
Yeah, I would probably send it to my father or something, or a sister, or a daughter-in-law, and so
or a reporter.
Yeah.
Can I show you? I brought something special for you today, from when I was 14 years old, 1994. You ready for this? Yeah. This is a calendar that I did.
Oh.
In 1994, this was my first.
Did you know calendars were going to be kind of like a antique or antiquated by the time you showed me this in 2022?
So what's fun about this is 1994 was so long ago, It's come back. See, look, Groundhog Day, Wednesday.
Oh, yes.
We're on the 1994 calendar is oddly specific to 2021. But this was what I did when I was 14 years old. I made a calendar with my cartoons, and chicken's done, and yeah. But anyway,
Did you do any prediction in there about COVID?
I didn't. I'm not a smart cartoonist. I just wanted to show you that I've been doing it for a while. I took a long break, but I am back. And hopefully they gain a little bit of attention.
So what are you going to do with all these?
Well, nothing. No. I have a Facebook page, and I have an Instagram page, and I have a website, which is midlifethesis.net. And right now I'm building up the portfolio.
Right.
But the ultimate goal, I'll do a book. I don't think I'm going to do another calendar.
Right.
I'll do a book at some point. And when I get enough material built up to a portfolio, I'm going to start submitting to newspapers.
Right.
I'd like to draw these for newspapers. But, who knows? Newspapers aren't as prominent as they once were. Online is really where it's at. They get shared quite a bit online already. It's fairly new. I haven't made a cent off of them. I don't think this is necessarily something you can make a living doing, but maybe. But it's just for fun.
Yeah, but you got your money because you've told me about the vast fortunes you have gained by doing these little pickup gigs in restaurants and such.
Well, yeah, less lately.
Yeah.
Less lately. COVID put a stamp on that. COVID can't stop cartoons.
That's true. Well, and I know COVID's serious. It is. It's serious, but you even have to have lighter moments in that because I watch us going through the stores with masks on, and I think, I just sometimes laugh. I wear mine.
Well, in the winter, it keeps you warm.
Oh, yeah, I know. And you know what?
It's like walking across that Shaw's parking lot can be kind of windy.
Right before COVID came,
Yeah.
I'd lost a tooth, and I had to get a $5,000 implant. I tell Penny, the timing sucked. Because
you could just wear a mask.
Yeah, if I had known I was going to wear a mask, truth be told, I think I told you this before I came. I actually had to clean up a little bit to come on the show because I go out and I wear a mask. I hardly ever shave anymore.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, today's a special occasion. I'm going to shave. But no, you've got to laugh. I go up to, I go everywhere, and I look at myself and I just think, nobody needs I don't need to laugh at people because damn, I do stupid things.
I think we all do.
Yeah, and just and I just think it's as you mentioned, it's kind of sad when you run into people who just they have no sense. They have no sense of humor, and it's actually, to me, it's a sad existence.
You know what's worse, though? When you run into somebody that thinks that they're very funny, and they're not. Oh, yeah. That's the worst.
Well, I don't want to go into great detail, but I know there's a Vermont comedian. I don't get it. I don't get the,
I know who you mean.
Yeah, and the thing is my I tell my brother-in-laws, they're loggers.
Yeah.
And when they're retiring, pretty much. And I said, you guys ought to go on a circuit because people who really spend their time in the woods, like some of the funniest people were foresters, like Jersey drowned, or his son now, Charlie drowned. People, or then George Buzzle. People who spend too much time in the woods either start hearing voices or they find humor because, and my brother-in-laws are the same way. They could just they could go on tour.
Yeah.
But no, I like humor as long as it's not contrived.
Yes.
So I happen to have married into a family of comedians, and they don't get paid a cent to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to make money in entertainment.
Yeah. So, well, unless you are a Vermont musician, and I heard that, as you've told me many times, you really don't know what you're doing with your vast fortunes, and
Not yet.
Yeah.
Storing it away.
And right on your door is a poster that I created for you. Right on your door, you put it on there. Is that you are one of the top richest Vermonters.
Yeah. I got it all in Bitcoin.
And you said some people have believed that
yeah.
that
when were you on
that magazine cover I
when
made.
Were you on that cover?
Okay, well.
Well, thanks for having me on. I haven't really talked to many people about cartoons. You got the scoop.
Yeah, good to
I just kind of launched the cartoons.
You know what? It's now that's out. I'm sure Fox and CNN and all them. They'll be knocking on your door. They'll be pretty soon. Pretty soon, I'll be introduced to a new producer here because
I'll be a famous cartoonist.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And
that was fun.
And as always, thank you for being the producer of the show. But that job went. Can you tell who's producing? I've known Terry now for years, but I say his last name wrong every time.
Well, you need to practice. You don't speak Italian?
Terry DeFazio.
It's close. There's an ah in it.
Well, say it. DeFazio.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So, and thanks for Terry DeFazio for, and he's clapping in the background.
He's running the cameras today.
For producing this show.
Thanks for having me on, Scott Weiler.
All right. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.